In this week's podcast, we are talking to Nate Prescott, co-owner and founder of Caveman Cryotherapy. We discuss what cryotherapy is, how he chose to get into the business, and what he is up to next. This is a work in progress.
Altoid kills bad breath.
You need more than one.
All right. So we're here. We're doing it. Do
we even know what we're calling this yet?
Just Entrepreneurial Corner. Whoa. That sounds like a mouthful.
That's
EC.
lame.
No? All right. Just
work in progress.
Yeah,
sounds like.
Work in progress sounds good.
Yeah, work in progress.
There you
Jesus,
go.
Dude.
We're done.
And just like that, Nate did it. It's called a work in progress. I like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey,
dude.
Could be the whole...
you christened it, man.
Don't say TM, though. Don't say TM. If you say TM, it's good. Yeah. That means it's yours. TM. Yeah. A work in progress. I like that. So, here we are. Nate, Caveman Cryo.
Morning.
Dude, let's get... we got to get these intros in. Everybody knows me. Ben Duborg, owner of Sculpt Fitness. Here. Entrepreneur. Whole nine. And
I'm Ryan Schmitz. I'm the owner of Platinum Car Wash and Oil, and I have a handful of other small businesses as well. And now we have
Nate Prescott, owner of Caveman Cryotherapy. Here I am.
So Nate, before we get into it too much, obviously fitness is pretty easy to understand. Car washing is pretty easy to understand. You know, in a short summary, what exactly is Caveman Cryo?
Caveman Cryo is quite honestly, it's still growing. It's still kind of morphing into what we're trying to make it. And the main thing is we're trying to bring an old therapy to a new world of comfort. You know, so cryotherapy, or more importantly, cold therapy, was invented all the way back in Egypt. You know, so at nighttime, they would dip people in the Nile, get them all cold and bring them out, and they get a little salt bath, a little cold, and, you know, they felt much better. Now, you know, these days we had ice baths, we had cold showers, and quite frankly, they're miserable. You know, one of the big things and one of the bigger detractions is really the deep tissue freeze. With cryotherapy, we're really only going the first 2 layers of skin. You know, so it's nowhere near the same kind of cold that you would experience, so it's way more comfortable. So we're bringing the healing power of cold therapy to the general public, really for the first time, and we're making it affordable. You know, so Caveman Cryotherapy is really a new revolution in terms of, you know, health, revitalization, and recovery.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely, I mean, with that being said, I mean, I've done the ice bath. Mm-hmm. That is, it just sucks. 8 minutes, you're sitting there, or it's 6 to 8 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's awful.
Yeah.
It really is terrible. Have you done an ice bath? Have you done an ice bath before?
I've never done an ice bath.
Oh, it's so bad because it's all mental. It's like getting in is mental, sitting in there, and then just finding some sort of like, all right.
And how long are you in an ice bath?
So it's usually about 6 to 8 minutes, right?
Well, yeah, I mean 6 to 8 minutes. You know, you get some athletes that stay in there, you know, almost 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And in yours, you're in for how long?
You're in a max 3 minutes. You know. And it's a testament to, we're not actually going into that deep tissue freeze like I was talking about before. It's just the surface, you know. So we're almost tricking the brain into going into a full cold stress response. It's in that response that we get all the benefits.
So you're pretty familiar. I mean, you're pretty familiar, you know, with athletes in cold ice baths and stuff. Yeah. When did you see the transition? Because I believe you worked with athletes for a very long time.
Yep.
You know, so let's get into that a little bit. The history of that and how you came to be like, hey, ice baths, you know, suck. Let's get into the cryo, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, I spent a long time as a coach, strength and conditioning coach. I've worked at the collegiate level. I've worked in the NFL level. And I've seen recovery, you know, take a whole new aspect really over that last decade. Because it started with, again, ice baths and cold showers and deprivation, you know, all that kind of weird stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and not many things were really working in terms of inflammation, you know, the king of all pain, you know, the king of all discomfort, the king of all disease, you know, and when you really start looking at cold therapy and what it can do for you, even at a hormonal metabolic level, There was just no real way to realistically do it every day like you should be. There was no realistic way to really kind of put it into your life, and that was the hardest part about cold therapy, because it's uncomfortable. With cryotherapy coming out of Europe and coming out of the UK, it's really been dominant there for the last 40, 50 years, and we're, as a country, really just kind of catching on. Like what we're doing is not revolutionary in a world economy, but in this one, it's very, very new. It's not even in every state yet, so in a lot of ways we're catching up, in terms of recovery.
Yeah, because like you were saying before, when I went to the West Coast, it was there. I did see some cryotherapy things, kind of, popping up, but I always feel like Connecticut, like the East Coast, always gets things like 10 years later.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? It's like Russia right now. Like they still think that Chumbawamba's like a huge band and Hanson is really cool. Like it's like they got it just now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like with you, being here, that's why I got excited when I saw it. And I actually found out about you through Jesse Kazakowski. He was like, he was in there, great fighter, cooling down. And I was like, all right, yeah, I got to go. And I went actually, I think that day. And it was the first time And it was, it definitely is an experience. But to have everything come over from the West Coast to here, is that your experience? Because you're, also world traveler, so it's like, has that been your experience with?
Yeah, it seems as though, the West Coast always kind of has an ear to the ground and, what's kind of up and coming, or maybe it's just, we kind of follow it because, that's the trend.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It is cool.
They make it look cool. It's,
Yeah.
But, I a lot of things in terms of fitness are always kind of cycling. I've always viewed it that way, where we constantly go in cycles, and usually the next part of the cycle is the counteraction to what we did probably wrong for the last 4 years.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah,
and it's like
that.
you go from isolated to full body to, it just goes on and on.
Yeah. So, so now that you guys are here, how fast did this become an idea where you were like, okay, crowd?
Well, let's back up a little bit. How did you even come up with the idea?
For me, I've been using cryotherapy, I would say, for the last 8 years, me personally, So for me, using it athletically, that's one thing. For me, I'm using it for, the recovery aspect, in terms of how fast I actually recover from my workouts. Because if you look at that in a deeper sense, if I'm consistently at my 100%, I always train at my 100%, therefore giving me better results in the long term, right? If I train 10% harder every day, it's going to add up, So as an athlete, I know why I would use it. It's not necessarily for injuries. It's really for that aspect. That being said, when I came to the realization that our market could be so much bigger than that, so my mother is a pure example. My business partner's mother is a pure example. They have arthritis. When I started really doing the research in cryotherapy and why it was invented, it was actually invented for people with, metal knees, metal hips, severe arthritis, because quite frankly, those people, their problem is inflammation. That is their issue. However, they can't do cold showers. They can't do ice baths. They can't do really ice packs, mainly because all that tissue starts to freeze up, and that's going to cause them more pain, and that's what you don't want to do. So when cryotherapy was invented, it was to really give all those people that same metabolic effect that you get from cold therapy, but none of the physical harms, none of the deep physical aspects of it.
Yeah.
You're essentially tricking your brain into being its own best pharmacy, getting high on your own supply.
Well, that's interesting that you say that, talking about your mother and your partner's mother, it seems like it's still predominantly just a lot more athletes and people who work out on a regular basis. Is that a market that you are really trying to explore and expand upon, or you find it that it's just easier to convince the athletes that this is what they need?
I'm actually going to say the opposite. And I think that surprises a lot of people. When we first started really talking to Ben, his estimation, as a lot of people, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, was that we mostly do athletes. And obviously,
Yeah,
and like,
I thought
if you,
that, yeah.
yeah, I mean, if you look at all of our photos and, you know, all of our stuff, obviously that's the crowd that likes getting their photo taken. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
The ones that look really good
listen,
in
yeah,
photos, shirts
yeah,
off,
you know,
getting
like,
in this thing.
If I'm in there with them, you know, I get just as many no's as I do yeses when I go, hey man, you want to take your photo? You know? So that being said, I think it does give that perception that is what we get mostly. But I can't tell you how many of our clients are unlimited members or once a week members, and they simply come for pain management. You know, we have
seen that more now. Now that I've seen it, like I'm able to see it.
As a percentage of your business, how would you say it breaks down?
You know, oddly enough, it breaks down by season. You know, and I think that's also very specific to us here in Connecticut. I think it's very specific to us in this whole region, you know, because we have 4 seasons, you know, and that causes really 4 different pain types, right?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yep.
You know what
That's
I mean?
true.
So
When
like
it
in the
rains,
summertime, I get a lot of athletes that are like, hey, I was, you know, mountain biking and I fell and hit my arm, you know, and it hurt. Or, you know, a football player just strained his calf the other day.
Yeah.
You know, in the wintertime, I'm getting all those same people, but they're coming for a different reason. Probably because they got the ACL surgery they didn't get last year and they're in rehab. You know, I get a lot of arthritis patients because they're constantly in pain. You know, so it's because we only really affect, you know, your inflammation levels and your recovery levels. I can touch such a broad market. And that's really why, you know, I brought up my mother, was that when I realized this can literally help everybody and it should be part of, you know, your everyday human life. There's no reason we're not doing it, which is why I want to make it, you know, the first to be really affordable, you know, on an ongoing basis. You know, it's a lifestyle.
So is that kind of your business model right now, is just bringing cryo at an affordable level to everybody?
Absolutely.
And,
you know.
and how did, when you first started, like, tell me about how you got into your first location. I mean, you've been doing it for 8 years, you said, and this is something you wanted to do.
Yeah.
How did you make that leap to saying, okay, this is what I want to do for a living? And, you know, you made that decision, you find your business partner first?
Yeah. You know, so I actually knew Mike McHugh here. He's my business partner. Met him, you know, just about 8-9 years ago. He was a sales director for a health company. I was in the same building, renting out, doing some training with athletes.
So you started as a personal trainer?
Yeah. Okay. So again, you know, I was a strength coach for a very long time. Those facilities that I worked at in Connecticut, helping out athletes, college athletes, middle school, high school. I mean, you kind of name it. We met each other, you know, quite a while ago, and, you know, we always kind of talked about it, but quite frankly, it was really like 2.5 years ago. I came to that realization I was talking about, you know, when I was like, wow, this can actually help a lot of people. And, you know, Mike and I started talking about it, and an opportunity, you know, rose up, and we thought, hey, I'm renting out of the same building you work at. You're one of the higher ups, man. Let's start a business. Let's just do it. Let's, you know, so to answer your question, really roundabout way, obviously, it's honestly starting with belief. I had full on belief. You know, I may be wrong, but I'm never in doubt kind of thing. You know, I believe in this business. I believe in this idea that we're coming up with. I believe in the future of fitness and what it's going to look like.
Oh, hell yeah. I like that. Yeah. Dude, that's so crazy. Yeah, but so we talked about the freeze, dude. We talked about the freeze. Tell me about the squeeze, man.
I'm claiming it. Right now,
the freeze and squeeze, man.
We are the OG. We are the freeze and squeeze.
The
home
and
of the freeze and squeeze.
Dude, it's
no one can take it.
Do not take that.
I saw one place took it, and I was like, I will come down there, buddy.
He has a mean elbow to the top of your head.
Mean. No nerves left. Yeah. I'll get you.
Muay Thai. No, so the freeze part, you know, that's what I see the people most like jittery and scared. Once they get in there, they're still jittery, and then they start to kind of calm down, and they realize that it's not as bad. It's not as bad as getting into an ice bath. But what's that squeeze, man? Let's talk about that. The squeeze.
The squeeze is one of like the oldest things that we have around that we've never heard of. You know, oddly enough, I read this somewhere, but you shouldn't read, or you shouldn't believe everything you read on the internet, right? But I was reading that pneumatic compression, that's what it really is, the science of pneumatic compression. Been around for a long time. I would say probably biggest in like marathon crowd.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like really distance runners, Ironman. It's basically squeezing you.
Yeah.
You know, it's crushing down on your lymph nodes. It's helping you drain out any kind of lactic acid, any kind of knot work. In a lot of ways, not all of them, a lot of them.
Yeah.
It does replace foam rolling.
Yes.
And, you know, be honest with yourselves. We don't all do that all the time as much
Foam
as we
rolling
should.
sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
Here's the flexibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you
What
know.
is that? Yeah. Russia. Get out of here. We don't do that. UK. Get out of here.
Yeah, so let's not fool ourselves. But
Yeah.
you know, in a lot of ways.
So when you say squeeze, though, I mean, what do you? Is it
It's
different than normal compression? I mean, I'm thinking
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
thinking like compression tights or something.
Well, so
like
I mean,
that, you know?
the reason I bring up, you know, it's so old and it's been around is because we've all probably done it, or we've seen it being done in hospitals. You know, so when you get out of surgery and those boots are squeezing your feet for better circulation, that is pneumatic compression. That's exactly what you're experiencing. There are forms that are cold. There are forms that are hot. I think there's ones that are just air. We use air. We don't use cold. Just the main reason being, we do cryotherapy.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have cryo. You freeze.
You know, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if we wanted to actually like focus in on that area, there are ways we can actually edit the session, put in some ice packs, and actually affect a certain area with cold while the rest gets squeezed. You know, so we don't just have the feet like hospitals do. Ours are way more athletically inclined. You know, they're a little more injury, I don't know, specific.
Yeah.
But we have arm and shoulder, hips and back, and then legs and feet. You know, obviously the legs and feet are probably the most popular. Second is actually hips and back. You know, the hips and
Really?
back is pretty wild.
That thing
yeah.
is a torture machine.
It is.
That thing really, dude, it is aggressive.
If you
it
ever
feels
want
good.
to see a big diaper on yourself,
that's
it's your
essentially what
opportunity.
you have to
it
do.
looks silly. It's terrible.
It works so well, though. It really does. But
It
it
does.
is a bit, and like you said, because I was doing the session the other day, and you said, "Hey, man, you got to let go. Like you just got to relax a little bit."
Yeah.
And as soon as I did that, I felt so much better.
Yeah.
You know, like you don't fight it, like don't tense up.
yeah.
So then once I kind of relaxed, and then afterwards, I mean, I was deadlifting like crazy, squatted the next day, I felt great. I really did feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's in a lot of ways, you know, whatever you break in the week, you can fix at the end of the week, you know, with our type of stuff, you know.
Dude, you got to write that down.
I know.
Are you right? Well, we're recording it, so that's good.
Mental
We're
note.
gonna-
Yeah. It's finally on record now.
You're
All
full
my-
of good. This is great.
I know. Full of pitches.
yeah.
That's what it is.
That's how he gets everybody. He gets
I do.
everybody the same way.
I'll get you. All of you.
I want to do this. Don't you want to do this? I want to jump in that tank.
I've never done it.
Yeah. Oh, dude, this is going to be great. I need to see Ryan's face when he gets in there.
Well, you
It's-
didn't see me. Up.
You know,
Ryan is
It'd be a
insane.
two-part process.
Yeah. It's just going to be pretty much Ryan's chest on the top of it.
No. Well, no, we had.
What's your tallest client that you've had? He's probably the same size.
So it's actually on. I think it's actually on the Instagram. I'm
Yeah.
a rare millennial. I don't look at that
Yeah,
stuff, but
yeah.
I think it's towards the beginning because we did it. I want to say it was like our third month in business, and a guy called and he's like, "Hey, from the Marquette basketball team, I was thinking about coming down doing some cryotherapy." And I'm like, "Oh, great." He goes, "You got room for a 7-foot person?" I'm like, "On paper, I do."
Sure.
You know, so they came down. He actually fit. He had to bend a little bit, but you know.
Okay, so
dude, if
you're
that
gonna
tall,
fit. You're
I mean,
gonna fit.
Yeah,
fine.
you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be all right.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, it's the best part is everyone's face when they first start because
Dude,
they're
I
all
can't wait to
different.
see Ryan's face.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. But
You're already scared now.
Interesting.
here's the pressure. We have a 94-year-old client that comes once a week.
Oh, I'll do it. I
yeah,
just-
no,
Straight
I mean,
face, like
you
no
know.
expression.
So when that thought is going, oh man, I gotta get out.
When my
Just think about that.
I've had clients go in where I'm like, they're gonna make a face. They make no. It was just like, whoosh.
Yeah, you get the stone faces. They're sometimes suspect. I don't know.
Yeah, they've killed before. I feel it. I feel
mean,
it too.
I've seen it, and it's like there's a weird energy.
Dude, it's
Can I take
so-
a photo? Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. You're gonna need it. You're like, what? What was
No,
that?
it's crazy. The things that people go through in there, it is in a lot of ways hormonal. Not really, but I mean, kind of. You know, you're going through adrenaline in a lot of ways. You're going through a cold stress response, and sometimes people actually have like those moments to themselves, which is, I've never personally had that. You know, we had a gentleman. He was staring into the numbers, and it seemed like he got lost in time and space.
Yeah.
And when he came out, he goes, "Man, that was one of the coolest experiences of my life." You know, and it was like never had that, but it's so funny that because we are our own pharmacy. when you do something like this, your body will fix itself the way it sees fit. So in a lot of ways, you have to listen to what's going on. You know, and I think that's probably my favorite part about this.
Yeah.
So you, going back to your business partner again, just to get, we're covering all the rest of the stuff. I want to cover a little bit more of the business, just to mix it in. So your business partner, Mike, now was he your financial backer? Is that how it worked out the first round?
No, we actually, we started asking friends and family, and, not much was there, Mike's mother was nice enough to, back us up and believe in what we were going to do. I think a big part of it was what she was feeling through the sessions, At the same time, she's an investor.
But that's how it works a lot of the time.
Right, yeah, no, absolutely.
I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs, they have some kind of family involvement, and
that's why I said, it starts with belief. I mean, let's be honest, a lot of us don't start with very much, and a lot of us won't get a bank loan. A lot of us won't get a lot of those things that we think are norms for businesses, and a lot of times they're not, especially, these days. I think, believing in your product is probably the most important part first.
It's true.
And now the other thing, Nate, you said you were personal training for 8 years before you got into this.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you started your first location?
22.
22.
That's young.
21, 22.
Dude,
yeah,
that's young.
Pretty much as soon as I was done in the NFL there for a little bit, I just didn't think anything else was really for me. I didn't like what that world was going to present me. I didn't like a lot of parts about it. So when I got into the private field, private sector, I loved it way, way more, because it allowed me to just basically be a business owner without actually fully owning the business. I was my own coach and I was my own person. I did work for a franchise, so I was selling their thing. At the same time, it was a good base of training.
So you're 22 when you started your first personal training.
Yeah.
And when you started your first cryo location, how old were you?
First cryo location, 32.
32.
No, 30.
30, okay.
Sorry.
There's a lot in between there, though. That's a huge amount of growth and knowledge and experience you could bring to.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's an interesting step. I mean, the way I look at it, like personal training, obviously you are your own boss. You still have a certain amount of risk, but the level of risk, because the investment's typically a lot lower. I know, Ben, you've got a pretty good sized gym, but a lot of people who start their own personal training, situation is a lot less invested up front.
Yes.
So starting at 22, again, you don't quite have the same financial risk. Obviously, as you're 30 now, and you've got investment in equipment and everything else, FF&E, long-term lease agreements, and everything else, it starts becoming a lot more, scary.
Yeah.
I think, and I think the biggest issue, and I was going to do a whole episode on this, but I'll talk about it really quickly right now. I think the biggest thing is the biggest emphasis on equipment and training, and people opening gyms or small gyms or whatever. It's like, stop putting so much emphasis on the equipment. Get in there with a couple of dumbbells, start there. Any trainer worth his salt. I've seen you've done a whole training with a kettlebell and some bands, and the person is just exhausted, and it was specific to that person.
But I think it's marketing. That's marketing.
It is.
I mean, I come in here, if I see a nice gym with nice equipment, I'm gonna think this guy knows what's going on. You go in there with a kettlebell, and I'm gonna be like, you want how much an hour?
I'm talking about the beginning. In the beginning steps, what happens is too many trainers, and it's an ego-driven business, and you've been in it for a long time, where it's just egotistical people, one night after the other.
Yeah.
But what I found is that it's like, get along with the people, train them, listen, do things specific to their body, you know what I mean, that type of thing. They focus so much on the equipment, like right away. Like they spend way too much in the beginning, and then they're broke for so long, like really long time. And then sometimes it could either put them out, or they finally start to be able to collect a decent paycheck, and it's already like, wow, it's been 10 years, you know what I mean? Yeah. So the thing is I'm just saying the emphasis on being good, actually listening, being great at everything while you're setting up a small location gym, whatever it may be, is the best thing. And that's gaining experience too.
Right.
You know, so you have all that experience now. You can intertwine with talking to clients
Yeah.
about, hey, how's your knee? How'd you hurt it? Oh, you
Yeah.
hurt it that way?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man, I got this, this, and this. Try this out, little freeze, little squeeze, and it's great.
And quite frankly, that is what actually separates us from our actual competition. Is
Yes.
we actually have a call to action. You know, so when my coaching career was so much different than like a trainer because, like, you know, a lot of times you bring in Gen Pop, right, and you go through, you know, all their wants. You know, I want to lose. You know, I want to, you know, get taller. You know? I know
That's
all those
is
things.
that me? Were you just quoting me?
No.
Ben feels attacked.
I do slightly. Yes.
My eyes moved.
I want to be less. I want to be less
crazy.
of me and taller. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of get all those different things.
Thinking about me growing a couple inches, aren't you?
I was.
Yeah, I'd be
Yeah,
way more
I lost
handsome.
my train
right?
of thought
I'd be way
just
more
because we
handsome.
started laughing.
Here, sorry, let's move on to another thing then. So you opened up your first location, what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
And now you're expanding into your second location?
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me what the steps were. Like, at what point were you like, hey, we're ready to do number 2?
Here's the crazy thing: we've always been ready to do number 2.
Okay.
You know, so it's yeah.
I don't know why I thought that.
Oh no! He made the face and it immediately went there.
He's like, when did you think about doing number 2? I'm sorry. You said it. All right. I need to be mature.
thinking about doing number 2.
I need to be
All right.
more mature.
Always.
It's not going to work.
Always.
I'm so sorry. Go on.
So we've actually always been ready to do the second one. When Mike and I first started, we actually had 2 machines. Unfortunately, when we first got started, we actually started with pure adversity. When we started this business, we were supposed to be in one place in Connecticut. Our manufacturer was driving everything up, all of our equipment, and he completely crashed everything.
Oh my God.
Being paid in full for everything and seeing all of my equipment, you know, strewn across the highway in Virginia was tough, you know. So now I was faced with, you know, leases, you know. We were faced with, hey, man, what are we doing? A couple other things happened. So now we no longer had our location. We had to find a new place, you know. So we were in a scramble. We had a week. Our manufacturer was like, I could get you 1 machine, but I can't get you the second one till, like, I don't know, March.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh man.
So I was like, and this is October. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my God. Okay. All right. We'll figure it out. So we found a place super last minute. I think it was a closet. It was so small.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry to everybody.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was still great, obviously, because we grew, but, you know, I'm sorry. But, yeah, no, we were there. And when we finally got our second unit, it's actually on a trailer. It's a big mobile unit. And, you know, with COVID now, it's very, very tough. So we actually have been ripping that thing out now. And we found a new location for it. So when we came to that decision, it was actually because of COVID. We're growing just in a different way. You know, now we're going to have a brick and mortar, 2 brick and mortars now.
Yeah.
Second one going in the Watertown Steel Beach Gym.
Yeah.
Check it out real soon.
What a town.
That's where Mike is. He's building right now. I get the easy job.
Yeah,
I
you get
freeze, I freeze and squeeze people.
Yeah.
You know, and he gets to build
Mike
stuff.
is sweaty and building things. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that works out.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so crazy that it crashed though.
That
Would be like dreams
tough.
like right down.
You know what's so crazy? The craziest part of the whole story. Not many people know this, but now everyone will know. But when I found out, I was I'm not screwing around. I had a check, okay, for $15K that I'm handing my insurance agent, and my phone rang, and I'm like, hey, let me get this, and he's like, hey, I'm sorry, but I crashed everything, and I'm like, whoop.
Right back
And I'm like,
into the pocket.
I'm gonna need that. I don't think I'll be needing insurance for that thing.
Yeah, dude, that's
For a little
insane.
while.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah,
That's so
you know,
crazy.
I thought I was gonna have to, you know,
Go, yeah.
kidnap someone
Go that.
or something.
So you have that location. You have this location,
Yes.
497 Main Street, Farmington, Connecticut.
Yeah, they're both on a main street.
Yeah, Main Street. Amazing gym. That place is a really good, nice gym.
Yeah.
The place right over there.
Yeah.
I've seen it before.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
It's got every kind of crowd. Big box gym.
The Steel, what is it? Steel
Beach Gym.
Steel Beach Gym. I actually went on a date there.
Did you?
Yes,
You
I
went on
did.
a date
I
to a
went on
gym?
a date there with the girl. She was like, I was like, hey man, I don't have a lot of time. She was a personal trainer. I was a personal trainer. She's like, we should go get coffee. Went to Dunkin' Donuts. We worked out, I believe, at that place, and then just hung out just left, and that was it. I never even talked to her ever again. Apparently, I wasn't tall enough.
Oh man.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
You should
That's
find
not
her.
what it was. It just
You took her to her workplace for a date.
No, she worked out there. No, she worked out there. She worked out there. She didn't work there. She worked out there.
Oh.
Yeah. So we went to Dunkin', went there, worked out. She lifts more than me. Maybe it was that. No, just kidding. I lift a lot. Yeah.
He does.
You're going to find out too. His knee. Let's talk about that knee, dude.
Yeah. What we got going on?
So you wanted to get that cold.
Yeah,
Get
no.
that cold in there.
So about a month ago, I finished up one of my bigger hikes, and it's been bothering me ever since. Steep up, steep down. Obviously carrying a little bit extra load on my back the entire time with the backpack because it was 3 days basically, and quite a few miles every day. But yeah, it's been bothering me ever since.
You're being really quite a few miles, dude. You hike like a madman.
It wasn't that bad. It was only 50 miles in 3 days.
Okay.
Well,
that's still a lot for me.
It's still a lot.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
it
a lot.
is.
Yeah.
But like here when I did the Tunxus, that was 40 miles in 18 hours.
18 hours.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Okay.
right,
That's
right.
true.
But that's flat, whereas out there it was straight up and straight down and just, having that impact. Because at 40 miles in 18 hours, I was tired.
Right.
I was exhausted, but my body was, a month later, my knee's still bothering me.
Right.
Do you think it's what is it? Just like pain every day, or is it in certain situations?
You can definitely feel when you're going, you can feel a little bit of the stress on it, I guess, going up. And then when I'm going down, I can tell that I'm not walking downstairs quite right.
Okay, I could tell you what you need. You need a little freeze and squeeze.
Yeah, no, with something like that, could obviously be a big range of things. Just because it's been lingering, it's probably indicative that it's mostly inflammation.
Right.
And that when it puts pressure on nerves or if it impinges a movement, now what do you do in return, right? You start overusing the wrong muscle, and that inflames itself, and that's how, quite frankly, a nagging issue can turn into a chronic issue.
Right.
So especially doing an event like that. That's why recovery becomes so important, because quite frankly, that injury could just be from excessive DOMs, right? And then you just never rolled it out. It's like if you had a massive bruise on your thigh and you didn't roll it out, eventually it's going to clump somewhere. You're going to get a blood clot or something, It's kind of the same idea, so how you use it, super important.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Nate, this was actually really interesting.
Yeah.
So,
Dude, I'm excited.
Good.
No, I think just the history of it is interesting. And again, I think it's important. A lot of young entrepreneurs getting out there. Like when I started, I had my family who had a business background, but I didn't really have any peers who were starting up their own businesses. And I think it's important to realize, we're all going through these same struggles, and we do use our family, we use our friends. It's not like we were just born. Obviously it helps having family that's got the finances to help you out.
Yeah.
But again, it's still scrapping and pulling it together.
Absolutely.
And not only that, not only family doesn't always give you the best of terms either.
No,
That's true.
No,
That's true.
No, but it's it's been great with her.
Yeah.
And well on our way.
Yeah. It's like family, friends, people, mentors, it's hard to find in an entrepreneurial setting.
Well, there's so few of us.
There's
again,
so-
you think about it. At my peak, I had 70 employees working for me. Now we're down because the business has changed more than anything else. But I didn't have peers. I had 70 people I was working with, but I didn't have peers. But now, obviously, Ben a decade ago was working for me, but now he's his own entrepreneur.
He's not my boss anymore. He's not my boss.
But I knew you weren't going to last there for long anyway.
He told me that. He actually told me, and I was kind of like,
I told him I didn't want him to be there.
That's actually what it was very strange that rang in my head when I got other jobs, I chose my career path afterwards, because I remember what he said.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, you can't be here.
Yeah.
And I was like,
this is a stepping stone.
Yeah,
Move on.
He goes, you need to move on. He goes, you can't be here.
Yeah.
And I was like, and he knew, he was right. So, and that's why I've always looked at him as a mentor, and friend, because it's like he's always given me good pieces of advice, removing, you know.
And I'm a big fan of you too, Ben. I knew you could do it, man.
Thanks, man.
Even when you didn't know.
We're going out of business. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So yeah. So it's been huge. I mean, and having family, friends, mentors, and stuff like that, especially when you have those type of questions. And if there is so many, or there isn't so many of us, it's definitely makes it a lot better.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. Once you get the money, it's much harder to make it back.
Yeah,
so keeping that in mind, where I think even some people, when they do get that break, and they go, "All right, man, I believe in your thing. Here's the stuff. Go do it." The work literally just started, and I think we're a prime example of that story, especially because when everything crashed, like I said, we paid everything up front, so it was scrapping from there on in. So it's that's why, again, gotta believe.
Yeah.
Because without that, who knows?
Yeah. So listen, this is our first podcast of a work in progress. So seriously, if you are a business owner, you are an entrepreneur, and you need or you would like to showcase or just sit here and talk with two other like-minded people who are into it, let us know, and I hope you enjoyed it. Done. Look at that. I'm out.
Bam.
Yeah.